Mm. Reality is so interesting, isn't it? There's so I was thinking about all the stories that point to how perception creates our experience. Um, one of the ones that all of us know that is so when you really get what it implies, right? It's a powerful teaching story, and that's the story of the whatever Sufi or Indian devotee or whatever is walking down the road, and it's a dirt road with ditches on either side, and way up ahead he sees a snake, and he is in trepidation, but he's got to get to the pilgrimage that he's on. He's got to complete it, and so he continues, and he gets up close enough, and he sees that it's a rope, and so that his reality shifts 100%, right? But this is a whole different reality now. I don't have to deal with a snake, a poisonous snake, an aggressive poisonous snake. I have to deal with this rope, which he probably kicked over into the ditch and went on his way. But that's the teaching is so obvious. It's like what we perceive that we create our experience and our reality out of. And so when we are seeing something, typically, if we're seeing something that triggers us, a shift in perception, a shift in the lens through which we're perceiving is what the work we do with the 6 steps to freedom process. We find what created the distortion in the lens through which we're perceiving everything. And then we find out that it was a rope, not a snake, right? It was the experience of maybe a 3-year-old who didn't get the cookie or the candy that she wanted, and then concluded something that created a perception, a distortion in the lens through which she perceives reality, that then is informing everything she sees. Typically, our information regarding what we see is going to be on a polarity. So it looks like it's for us. Oh, I have all the cookies in the world, right? Or it looks like it's about us and I never get a cookie. So we're caught on that stick. The perceptual piece is the most powerful piece. It's what's at work all the time. The way I see reality is what I will fundamentally experience according to my decision or my opinion about what that reality means. Right? She didn't call me back. That means that she never really liked me, and that was a fake friendship she offered. So we have this reality that's 100% altered, skewed in one way or the other by the lens of our early wounding. One of the things that I think confuses everybody is that we will often have created an asserted identity in order to present ourselves in a way that we don't experience what our wounded conclusion was. The wounded conclusion of I'm not good enough or I don't matter. And so the asserted identity is on behalf of all of you, everybody out here. And that asserted identity has to do with what I don't believe about myself, but I really want to make sure I convince you of. Right? I'm really the best. It's like that. What's true for me is that I'm on top of this. I got this. It's all cool. Right? And so we present this based on the lack of conviction, the lack of sense of presence, the sense of autonomy, the sense of being impacting or empowered on our own behalf. So the asserted identity is often a distortion of what our gifts are. So because we don't see the world as it is, we just see the world as we are, and then we create these personas. Would the plural be personae? I don't know. Let's see. but we create identities so that we can feel more confident, so that we can feel more in charge, more effective. Or, on the other hand, often for many people, it's creating a persona of not being seen, of not being acknowledged, of hiding out. I don't want any attention, right? Because any attention on me, they're gonna realize that I'm not good enough, that I'm not powerful, that I'm not important. So the way in which what we believe about ourselves creates our experience of reality and others is so total that any moment when it's not in play are these moments, sometimes during meditation, often just what we call short moments of the truth, the reality of who I am. You know, just in the middle of Hawaiian moons or Walmart or whatever. Here, you have a moment where it's just like, and it's all clear, and there's presence, and there's no sense of limitation because there's no judgment. Right? At the heart of the matter of the distortion field, there is this aspect of how all the judgment that we have within us regarding ourselves creates the distortion lens through which we see reality, and then that judgment gets projected onto others. It's so we can feel that instead of believing I'm not good enough, we project it onto somebody else. They're a piece of shit or they don't matter. And then we're free of it. And we can see that that's true. And every bit of evidence that points to our conclusion about who they are, is built into our distortion field. It's a freedom that is unknown for the fear-based person. The freedom of being judgment-free is a remarkable gift that comes with waking up to our true nature, knowing ourselves as the space, the awareness in which realities arise, and having the appreciation and the confidence in the vehicle, the body-mind unit that we express through in this 3D reality. There could be a kind of, and this happens for people sometimes, there could be a kind of something that enters in that takes away what they had absolutely had as the foundation of their identity and their reality. Like, I'm not sure it doesn't happen more and more often as we have these genetic services like 23andMe or whatever that, what's that other one? I don't know. Ancestry.com. Yeah, so you all of a sudden you found you were pretty clear that you were of European descent, and you may have thought you had some Native American, and you had a kind of pride in this, right? And you get back your DNA and it's like 100% Irish. Yeah, it's like, so we can have these days, we have information coming in that kind of jars our self-perception, right? In any direction, doesn't matter. But so our mental concept that we have created so that we didn't suffer with what we had installed, because it went subconscious. Whatever is against us, especially with our own conclusions, it automatically, this is just psychology 101, it gets what we don't want to experience gets repressed. The bad news about anything that is repressed is it'll be projected. And so this corresponds to my metaphor for the lens, the distortion in the lens of our perception that creates us caught in an over and over iteration of our experience of our earliest wounding, when we didn't get fed on time, or when we got punished and it was not fair because I didn't eat the cookie. Right? We have this whole dynamic going on, and the freedom from that is the freedom of a what would I call it? An elevated perception that can come with this teaching, which is the way it came for this body-mind unit, the understanding that I am seeing, perceiving, and receiving information that matches what I already believe about myself, especially the negative part. So as we understand that, that kind of cause and effect, it gives us a little place to back out and relieve ourselves of being caught in the in that restriction, in that limited experience of the nature of reality. Right? It's a freedom that I know all of you have tasted of, and that in the shift out of a fear-based identity, you move into the fullness of, and that frequency actually creates at any point in time when in your experience you're relieved of the limitation and the fear-based conclusion, which may seem to be a judgment of others, but fundamentally is a judgment of oneself. And that clears, and in that moment, you have the experience of this, of presence, of this that's love, of this that's freedom and happy, and the fun of this playground that we chose to incarnate into, that's based in a 3D reality. Now, how that reality shows up for us clearly and then distortedly is a component part of the lens that we perceive it through, right? Including others. It's a it's a hall of mirrors. We're only ever seeing ourselves looking like somebody else who didn't call us back, or who didn't do what they said, or who are not respectful of me, or who, whatever our bitch is. Yeah. So the opportunity to realize that in any moment, when any part of that perceptual distortion is cleared, you are in a different reality. In any moment where there is the opening into this vast sense of awake awareness as the one I am, the light that's shining on everything, without which there wouldn't be anything. When that occurs, it's like there's a frequency shift and a new reality arises in that moment. And it either lasts or it doesn't last, but it gives us a sense of the malleability of reality based on our perception. So it's very powerful. You know, one of the things that's come along for me with the macular degeneration is that I'll be in a room, say with white walls, which was the case in my tiny house up country before the fires. And all of a sudden, I'm just lying in bed listening to a book, and I see something dark and ominous moving around the ceiling. Right? It's like, what the hell is that? I don't know if it's a centipede, if it's a whatever, right? So being of sound mind and at that moment fearful, I got out my camera and took a picture of it and sent it to Yvette, who was in the big house next door, and said, what the hell is this? And she's like, Polly, it's a cockroach. I said, okay, the cockroaches I can handle. I get the broom and knock it down. I don't know where it went, right? It could be in the bed with me. But the whole thing is that we see something and we can see it through the aberration of our ability to perceive. And our ability to perceive at the level of creation and reality is our self-concept. And that's where we can know for sure that if it doesn't feel good, we have access to it to clear what got installed. Who's this with us? Come right in. Is it Bonnie? Hi,
Yes, with apologies, I was taking care of a sick friend.
You were just glad you're here.
I'm
You're
so
never-
glad I'm here.
Yeah, no apologies ever. What is that? What was that movie years ago? Saying sorry means you love somebody, or what was that called? What was that?
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, exactly. That's right.
Do love
That's not my definition of love, but I don't mind never having to say you're sorry. I think that part's accurate. And so it's a perceptual reality, like we're saying, and once you have installed, which we all do early on, then the yeoman's work for the awakening is the excavation into that repressed, that created the distortion. And as we're so fortunate in the Sangha to have come upon, which I did a few years before I came back to Maui, maybe 4, of the 6 steps to freedom, so that we start to get how that distortion field got installed. Why is it that when I see somebody, and I really don't care if they call me back, but they didn't, and now I'm bereft, right? It's like, it's my opinion about me that creates that experience, not anybody else's behavior. And so at that intersection, in consciousness, freedom begins to open, light starts to come in, peace and ease, and the peacefulness and the deep experience of presence. Just this. It doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't mean anything, but it doesn't mean anything. It's like, it's just this. But so what happens with that little explanation is that your mind's hands get off of it, because it's our mind's hands that are caught in our, well, to mix metaphors, in the distortion field. And then we experience that in that way that is against ourselves. So we turned against ourselves early on, and it created a way in which we perceived reality that means something about me. And in that experience, I attribute my experience to the external. And so then we go about all of the things that all of us have been involved in over the years, which is trying to solve the problem at the level of the problem, instead of coming home to what's causing the matter and putting a bright light of awareness on that conclusion that got installed. So we have 100% access to this. One of the things that this is, once the distortion field is cleared, is authenticity, which is what we gave up when we thought that there was an out there that we either had to cooperate with, please, defend ourselves against, whatever it was. Our authenticity was way down the line from that. So as we wake up through this process, as we wake up, authenticity comes back online, and the ability to say, I texted you and you took 2 days to get back, and I'd really appreciate it if you could get back to me sooner. Just a simple expression, because with our early wounding, our early conclusion about ourselves that I don't matter, we don't have the wherewithal to express authentically. We will go into the idea of what we think about out there, them. And if I just said what I really want, what I really need, then they're going to be mad at me. And when we start off with this practice, it could be true. Buckle your seatbelts, right? It's like, it's not that people stop reacting. They may continue, but there's no longer the me here that it means anything about. And that's where the freedom and the spaciousness arises. So with that, we'll open the floor to do the 6 steps or to field any topics that anybody's come up with, or maybe I need to clarify something that I was unclear about.
So you can either raise your hand if you're on Zoom, either with the tool, the raise hand tool. Or you can just raise your hand, and if you're here, you can raise your hand and I'll follow you here. Ah, Hermione, was that a
Hermine?
hand? Hermine, was that a hand raised? No, that was a wave.
Ah,
Okay, Colleen, we have Colleen.
yay.
Hi, Polly.
Yes,
I wanted to share an experience I had. You talked about being in Walmart and having this understanding. I went to the dump with my son last weekend, and the dump, right? And I just had this amazing experience of my heart being open and feeling the beauty that was all around me in spite of the smell or trash or whatever. And yeah, I just wanted to share that. Wow, it's possible at the dump.
Yeah.
And so what I'm wondering about, I'm realizing because of my childhood and the violence that I have this unconscious idea that especially the unknown is a threat. And I have to guard myself against that threat. And thankfully, thank God that I haven't had a lot of that reflected back to me, but I still don't believe it. I can feel that in me. I don't quite believe that I can be safe. And I think the thing that the way I've dealt with it is hiding and not really participating or showing up. And I'm just curious about what my unconscious idea about myself is. Do I think I'm a threat? Yeah, that's the one place I haven't figured out.
who is this I'm talking to?
Colleen.
Pauline?
Colleen.
Colleen, oh, thank you, sweetie. Yeah, I think it would be interesting to do the 6 steps if you're willing.
Yes.
Okay, so what you just described to me as being a kind of tension or hyper alertness, whatever.
Yeah.
That would be under the heading I'm triggered.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's about me.
Mhm.
And what is this feeling? You said some things about it, but give it more specificity. You feel alert or you feel anxious? What is the feeling?
Yeah, it's feels more to do with being anxious, being scared.
Right.
Yeah. And there is an alertness, over vigilance that goes with it, but it's more
Yeah. A mental thing, emotional.
yeah, I'm scared and feeling it in my body, like scared of something going wrong. Something's going to go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that feeling, something's going to go wrong. Just free associate using the feeling, allow the earliest time you experience that. Hope if you can experience a time before 6 or 7, early time when something was actually going on, and you made this conclusion about what it meant about you. Right? Does any memory use the feeling?
Yeah, what I'm sensing is around 2. And I know my brother was born a year after me, and my mom went into a lot of depression and had to be hospitalized for a while. And I know there was a lot of neglect and sorry.
No problem.
So you asked, what's that memory and
Well, the
what it
feeling,
meant about me?
Yeah, the feeling, that's the conclusion, but the feeling that you had probably was that you were unsafe, just like this feeling you have now. It's kind
Yeah.
of you've gotten so accustomed to it, feels like just a part of your nature, right? But then
Yeah.
when you first experienced this, uh, it was this using that feeling and finding this early experience around 2, or when your mother had that, all of those problems. You had, this would not have been a verbal conclusion, but it's an experiential conclusion about yourself that matches exactly what you're describing now, right?
Sorry, I know that I'm disassociating a little bit right now.
Yes, I know, yeah, that's,
Um,
yeah,
because there's also the component of my dad. So then it's like terror. What I'm feeling is terror,
mhm,
um, like an extreme fear.
mhm,
And um, I just, all I can get to at this moment is like, I got to do something. I got to hide somewhere. I got to, steal some food from the kitchen. I got to, like, I got to
right,
find a way to survive. So
right,
it's a little hard for me to, I guess,
okay,
that I'm alone
that's right, exactly, yeah.
and I
And
just
and
gotta
it's really
get
scary,
through it.
yeah.
There
It's
isn't
really
going to be anybody to help me.
scary.
So I need to figure this out. And because I'm alone and
Right,
I guess I don't matter enough to be taken
right,
care of.
yeah, yeah. So the feeling, the underlying feeling is a lack of mattering or being important. And then the weight of the expectation that it's all up to you. Right?
Yeah.
So this is what got installed, and there will be other facets of that that you will get in touch with, Colleen, but this is at the heart of the matter. Have you ever done the inner child work that got to this for you?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I've been working on it for a lot of years.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here now and can have that experience at the dump.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that comes with a lot of different ways of approaching early childhood wound is that we both believe it because it really did happen, but we believe that it is about us, the implications and the conclusions. And then we also give it, and this is not in any way derogatory towards anything you've ever used process, but we give it more validity by our investing in it. We
Right.
do understand it as cause in the matter. It certainly is that, but the way that it got installed, right now, the conclusion you reached about yourself fundamentally is that I suspect, and I may be putting words in your mouth, but I'm unsafe and I don't matter.
Yes.
Yeah. So when that got installed, now that's the lens through which you perceive reality. So you came upon these adaptive behaviors of protecting yourself, of hiding, being staying in the back of the room, whatever it was. And that there, it may have even been on a polarity of that where you felt compelled to be in front of the room or participating in a way, because it can go to both ends, and that's why it can be confusing. But at the
Right.
heart of the matter was this conclusion. I don't
Hmm.
matter, and it's all up to me, and it's not safe. It's not safe. This created the distortion lens, and as I said, through which you see reality. So anything can show up, and you'll see it as a threat. You may see it as a savior. I mean, it can be, but it is a distortion field, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you? The way that,
Yes.
yeah, it's a simplistic model, but I think it's accurate energetically. That it
Yeah, I
is,
know. I noticed lately that I can, I'm conscious of that I can, even with the most innocent thing, imagine a scenario that it's gonna go bad.
It's
And
gonna go
so,
sideways, yeah,
right, so I'm really glad now that I have this opportunity where it's coming into my consciousness, because I know it's been
exactly,
in my subconscious.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's what we don't know about ourselves consciously that runs us, just as you have been becoming aware of, right? Because it does get repressed right away. That feeling of being unsafe, you can't live with that in your conscious mind as a 2 or 3-year-old without a difficulty.
right.
So the conclusion you made, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I heard was I'm unsafe because I don't matter. I don't know if
Yeah,
that,
yeah, that's really, I can feel in my body how close I am to that wound right now.
right. Right.
Yeah, which is so
Yeah,
great.
it's so good. Yeah.
And I
You got it right there. You got it.
love the idea of I don't have to keep giving this validity.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I can forgive myself.
Right. The conclusion, as awareness right now, what the work we're doing together, and you and I and participants consciously, we're shining the light on this conclusion, on this wound for you. And aware at the level of awareness, we are all one, but this light is shining. I am aware of this. Anything that I can be aware of is a creation, right? It was
Yeah.
like I installed that program. I'm
Mhm.
unsafe and I don't matter. And with that installation, it's been running, it shows up in the ways that it has your whole life. And now it's like, I forgive myself for ever having believed that I'm unsafe and I don't matter. This does not refute the actual experience that you had. It happened, right? Your
Yeah.
conclusion about yourself fundamentally was the error that was unavoidable at that time, but never true. And so the forgiveness is the light, the sunlight of my true nature as awake awareness, shining on that conclusion and allowing that light to dispel. That's forgiveness. It's simply dispelled. And you can do this over and over because it'll go probably in layers. But this is the direction, this is the alchemy of forgiveness and awake awareness, which is who you are. You are the awake awareness in which a reality arises. The distortion in that reality has been this conclusion. And now the light shining on it, it's being dispelled. It's being softened. It's being let go of. And so it is.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Such good work, sweetheart. Really powerful. You do it on behalf of a lot of wounded beings. Yeah,
Yeah, that's really the beauty of it.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Thank you, Polly.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you, Colleen. Who else? Robert.
So, Polly, I think back in your talk, one of the things you said was something along the line of when we look at someone else, what we're really seeing is ourselves and how they show up. And I've heard that before, and I hear you say that today. And I think to myself, yeah, that makes perfect sense. But then moving from, a clearly very mental acceptance of it to a put it in practice, I'm not making that shift at all, it seems like. So any suggestions on how to help accomplish that
Yeah,
so that we actually
yeah,
do that.
it's a slippery slope that if you can bring into your conscious awareness the teaching. When you're doing the projecting of the judgment, that's the one step. If it's see, everything that we're wanting to shift in consciousness requires a little bit of light coming on in the moment so that we can, in that moment, be aware that this is what's happening here. You know, it's like it's happened my whole life. I've always been pissed off when this and this and this happens, right? But now when you see that behavior or that situation that you've been pissed off about your whole life is just to become aware that I'm seeing it through the distortion field of my wound. I mean, and it doesn't need to be that definitive, but just of the awareness that there's something off here. What I think is happening is not the whole story, or what I think is happening is not even a part of the story. So it takes some, and I know you have the commitment to your own awakening, but this is a practice that requires that we want our own awakening more than anything else. Because the easiest thing in the world to do is to keep thinking it's somebody else's fault and that things shouldn't be the way they are. And to feel justified in that. And in that justification, unfortunately, we have a little bit of satisfaction, right? So that it gets, we tend to repeat it. But if just aware that if that's coming up for you, that you know, you may not know how or why or where that got installed, but you can be sure that that's what's operative. It's to the degree that you believe that there's an objective thing happening that's pissing you off or that you have a problem with, and then you're going to be caught in that dynamic. And there's not going to be a solution. This is the reason that mediation, nonviolent communication, all of the things that all of us have done our whole lives to try to deal with the problem at the level of the problem have never worked. You can't modify it enough. You can't reframe it enough. You know, you can't, I'm okay, you're okay it enough. So it's like coming home to myself. This is my world. This is my reality. This is what's happening in it. It pisses me off. Do I want to be so deluded that I believe I've got to change that's pissing me off? That might look like another person. It might look like a circumstance that you don't have access to. But the good news, Dad, is the good news is that we have access to what's causing the matter. And this is both startling and empowering.
Yes.
I can do it here. Here is where cause is, and here's where remedy is. Here's where freedom is. It's just a little bit of that once in a while. What starts to happen is that we start to value ourselves enough and our own peace of mind and our own well-being enough that we continue to bring it back home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have about 13 more minutes.
Whoa, we can do the whole room in that time.
If anyone has a question or something you're working on, like Polly's input on, want to do the 6 steps. Yeah, Emily.
Is she over there?
Yeah. Go ahead, Emily. Are you in the dark there? We can't quite see you, but you can, yeah, there you are. She's.
Oh, here we go. I unmuted. I did it.
Good.
So as you're talking, and I'm just like, I feel like sometimes so many things trigger me, you know what I mean? That it's hard to be like, what was that little thing? What in my, and I've talked about this before, my sign for it is that my heart just starts pounding and jumping and going crazy, like I'm being chased by a tiger, like within like an instant. And then
Right.
I have to look and go, okay, what was said? What did I feel? And it's so hard to figure it out all the time because I think a lot of it comes down to once my heart starts doing that, I go into this fear and the
Right.
fear of like, and this has been going on for like, this is 5 years now, every day. So it's like, it's most days, but I some reason I still get scared of the heart jumping around, even though I'm aware I've been to every cardiologist. I've been to, like, I know what's going on. I know it's a trigger. I know it's my nervous system. I know all the things. And I can't get out of the fear of the fear, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When that starts to happen, Emily, does it occur to you that this is a trigger?
Yes.
Okay. And when that occurs to you, what's next in that equation for you?
I usually just think, okay, where did this come from? What was said? Was it an hour ago? Was it a minute ago? And I just try to peg that. And I think at the end of the day, it's like, I'm just always afraid my heart's going to stop, just gone. So I think it comes down to some kind of health anxiety, which I had for many, many years and probably, but, and just scared that it's not going to go away. So I think that the fear is like, it's not going to go away. So no matter what the trigger is, it's always the same reaction of this is never, I'm never going to function normally.
Yeah, so that's the trigger, that belief, that and then it arises with certain kinds of physicality, certain things going on. So let's just use the rapid heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it happening right now, Emily?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm triggered.
Yeah, I'm triggered.
It's about me.
It's about me.
What is the feeling? And we can just stick with the physicality.
Fear that I'll never be healthy. I'll never be healthy and happy and functional.
Okay. And that's what that rapid heartbeat evokes in you, that fear.
Right.
I'll never be happy, healthy, and functional.
Like I'm trapped, like I'm stuck.
Okay.
I can't get out. I'm trapped.
All right. Yeah, so using that I'm trapped, I'll never be healthy, functional, using that, what's the first memory that arises for you? An earlier memory?
Living at my dad's house and my mother had moved and I was at my dad's house and I
How
couldn't.
old were you?
I am 9.
Okay. Is there anything prior to that that comes up for you? There may not be, but if there is, we want to go there.
Before 5 or before 9.
Before that move, yeah.
I remember
Trapped?
I remember getting really, really sick. Like I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I would gasp for air. Like I couldn't get any air into my lungs.
Yeah, I
And
can't get deep breath.
and being in the hospital and being like in a bubble, like a big bubble that's around me, like so that I had oxygen. And feeling like I wanted to get out of there.
Right.
And I was trapped inside this bubble, and then I reached for the walls of this crib that I was in, and it fell down, and I fell out on my head.
That's a dangerous natal unit, isn't
it? Yeah.
Dangerous pediatric unit. Yeah. Do you have an actual memory of that, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a real not safe place. you were taken there to help you get over the hyperventilation or the need for oxygen. I think that memory is really at the heart of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The idea that of what kind of what I heard you say was that you've done a lot of different kinds of diagnostic diagnostic appointments with medical people
Yeah.
about this, about the
Right. Yeah. Nobody, yeah, nothing's wrong with my heart. Like
right.
nothing with the physical heart. Right. Correct.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
So when you were taken to a hospital because you couldn't get a deep breath and you were put into the oxygen bubble and it was too confining for you, you probably felt claustrophobic.
Yeah. It
Like,
was my mom was sitting across the room and I was screaming for her and she was meditating.
mhm,
She was
mhm,
probably trying to like, probably wasn't able to do anything to help me, because I was stuck in this bubble and I was supposed to stay in there and she couldn't really do anything. So I think
right.
she was trying to check out and
Mhm,
no one was coming for me and I was screaming. And so I remember I reached my little arms to the ends of the crib as far as I could and unlocked them both at the same time. I remember being, wow, I couldn't believe I did that because my arms were so short and both sides unlocked at the exact same time. And then I just fell on my head on the cement floor.
right.
Yeah.
What happened next?
And then my mom ran over and helped
Uh-huh,
me.
uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, when that happened, when you had something that you needed help with, which was getting a deep breath, and then the next thing that happened is that you're in this bubble, which felt like you were probably being tortured or something. I mean, it didn't feel good for sure. You needed to get out. Then when you were able to free yourself, you fell on your head, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
When all of that happened, Emily, you believed something about yourself. It was a conclusion that went in psychologically, energetically, maybe not languaged, but it was a feeling conclusion about reality and about yourself. Does it make sense to you what that might have been?
Do you mean before I opened the crib or after I fell?
As a part of that whole scenario, the confinement, the need to be free, and the fall.
Yeah. The feeling was I'm trapped. Yeah,
Right?
I'm stuck and
Yeah.
nobody's going to help me.
That's right. Yeah, and I suspect that was even the feeling when you couldn't get a deep breath at home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the appearance of help came and it was just another injury, insult added to injury, right? What
Right.
is your sense of, and this can be just conjecture on your part, it'll be intuitively informed, but what do you believe you concluded it meant about you?
Mm,
I must be,
that's hard. Not I must be not I must be invisible. I must be not important to because
yeah,
nobody's helping me as I'm screaming to get out.
right. Right. So a sense of not making any impact, this feeling of like trying, I mean, especially with the kind of bubble you're describing, it would be like, can anybody see me? Can anybody hear me? That whole frustration of
Yeah.
not being attended to.
Yes, and I was screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old were you when you went to the hospital that night?
I must have been like 4 or 5.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that was at least an impacting image, experience, occurrence where the conclusion got installed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't make any impact. I don't know what your language might be for that, but it's like I can't get what I need, basically.
Yeah.
And the reason is an idea about myself that I don't have any clout. I don't have any influence here or any. What would that little 4-year-old, 5-year-old Emily think about herself when all
No,
this
yeah,
happened?
nobody cares about me.
Right, exactly. Right.
Hmm.
And once that's installed, see, whatever happens is seen and perceived and experienced through that lens of nobody cares about me. So the most caring thing that can happen would still be experienced by you as nobody cares about me.
Yeah.
The idea that nobody cares about me would break our heart. Yeah. For the child, the heart was broken. The experience, the conclusion, that was unavoidable, right? But it got installed, and then now, when you are seeing or experiencing through the lens, the distortion field of nobody cares about me, that is a self attack of some kind.
Yeah. And it's my life's theme song.
Right.
Is that
That's
nobody
right.
cares. I'm not important.
Exactly.
You know, even though people can do a million things to show they care, I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
No, it don't count. It don't count.
No.
You know what's true. They
Right.
don't really care, right? Yeah. So what I want you to get is the way in which that distortion field, that belief about yourself impacts the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's nearly, I'm not sure this is true, and I'm always up for being, for sure, being corrected. But I think that it in a way compels your heart to be more active because you believe nobody cares about you. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's
Yeah.
what to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Or that
So you got to be more alive. You got to be more present. You got to be more impacting, right?
yeah. Yeah. And I think now that you're saying all this and it's coming back to the tent and the hospitals, I'm thinking that now my trigger is almost always associated with some kind of abandonment
Uh-huh.
and just what if I do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing,
Right.
you know, whatever it is, like I'm just going to be, you know, gone.
Right. The confinement and yeah, it's the combination of the confinement and then the whole thing of not being able to get enough air. It's like, yeah, that identity, which is something that shit really happened to you, and your concern, your belief that you concluded about yourself out of that, that's a frequency that impacts the body. And it also is a distortion lens through which you see reality, just like you said a minute ago. No matter, I mean, people, it doesn't matter how much they do for me. It doesn't matter how much they're there for me. In my experience, nobody's there for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what we want to have come out of this, Emily, is that you forgive yourself for believing that a shit happened, but your conclusion that it meant something about you, like I don't matter, that was an unavoidable conclusion, but never true. And that's where you rise above. It's like knowing yourself as the awareness of that. That's like, and I'm not trying to be facetious here or make fun of you, but that's like the Netflix series script. And you're the one who can see it. It's something you've had. You've been that character in that script.
And I
But
wrote, yeah.
that is, you wrote it. It's not the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even it's like apart from the story. And so knowing yourself as the awareness of it, I forgive myself for believing that I don't matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
The reality is you. You're creating a reality. How could you not matter? You're everything. And look at the one you've created. It's very compelling. Right. Yeah. Dramatic, right? It's like lighten up and free yourself from this error, because that's what it was. And it was unavoidable.
Yeah.
And be kind to yourself about it, sweetheart. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you. I just want to also say hi to Max out there. Hi, Maxie.
Max.
Okay. Thank you, Polly.
Thank you, Emily.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We're going to shift now. Thank you, Polly.
Yeah.
We're gonna shift into meditation. Just a gentle reminder, next week is Christmas, the following week is
Yeah.
New Year's, and we
Yeah.
won't be meeting on those Wednesdays.
Right.
Polly and I will be teaching an hour and a half class on the 28th on awakening and human design, and we'll send that information out, but there will be no more satsangs until the new year. All right, so go ahead and take a moment to get settled, and we'll begin the meditation.
I want to get here since this morning.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into the ocean of bliss together.
Thank you, Polly. Thank you, Barry.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you,
Rob. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, Deborah, for coming, bringing your big, huge energy. Oh,